What's up, everyone? This is the first edition of the Ohio Sports Radio. I guess you could call it a podcast, but it's kind of our video cast that we're doing each week. There's three of us. It's me, Ian, and Chris. And I'm Jared, by the way, for those of you who don't know me. Ian and Chris. And Chris is not going to be with us tonight. He's having internet issues, so he will not be here. But thank you to everyone who takes the time out of their day and reads our stuff. It's super awesome of you guys. We're just a couple of guys who love sports and like to drink, and unfortunately our teams make us drink. But without further ado, we're going to kind of get into some topics here. Number one on the list that we have, Ohio State's quarterback controversy. Ian, what do you think about the controversy up in Columbus?
To be honest with you, I mean, last season was just a cluster, and it worked out perfectly for the Buckeyes. You got Braxton going down with an injury, Barrett coming in playing phenomenal, breaking records, and then unfortunately Barrett going down. They bring in Cardell, and I mean he takes them into the playoffs, and they beat teams that nobody figured they could beat. I get Urban starting Cardell to start the season. We've discussed at length that we think that Cardell probably should have went to the NFL after last season due to the small sample size. Mm-hmm. And, Urban going with Cardell, that was fine. I think Cardell is a starter for your full season, especially coming off defending a national championship. He's going to get a little wild. He's got a huge arm. It's a great arm, but I don't think he can manage a full game, and I think that's where they need JT. JT makes the smart plays. JT makes the right plays. He reads defenses a lot better. Not taking anything away from Cardell. He can definitely sling the ball, but I mean, as you saw against Northern Illinois, things got shaky, and you can't have too many slip-ups like that, especially as you get into the Big Ten part of your schedule. I think Urban came out and said that Cardell's going to be starting this week.
Yeah, he did.
JT's going to be waiting in the wings, and I think anytime they need JT to come in and play, JT's going to be able to do it. But I think moving forward, I really think, obviously Urban's doing something right, but I think Urban really needs to reevaluate it if Cardell has any more issues or games like he did against Northern Illinois, because the Buckeyes aren't going to be able to pull that off against some of those Big Ten teams this year with a top-heavy Big Ten.
I definitely agree with you on a lot of things you said. I think I wrote an article earlier in the year. I thought JT Barrett would win the starting job. I don't think an injury warrants him losing his starting position. I think he led the team. Yeah, he lost to Virginia Tech early in the year, but outside of that, his numbers were great. He led them, undefeated season after that, and he was dominating teams. He was up for a Heisman. He was Big Ten Player of the Year nominee. I mean, he was leading the offense. He was very good. Cardell stepped in and did fantastic, obviously. I think we've discussed in length. I think he should have went pro. The small sample size, I don't think kids realize how important that is in the NFL. When you have that small sample size, you might as well take it and run. Make your money while you can. That's just me. I've never fault a guy for ever wanting to make more money. So I think Cardell should have went pro, but I'm happy he's back. What a luxury it is to have two NFL caliber quarterbacks. One is, going next year, and one JT is obviously going to go pro to play quarterback. And then you got Braxton Miller, who is a great college quarterback. Luxury to have him as one of your skill positions. So he's got a good problem up there in Columbus. Urban Meyer does. Yeah. He's got a great problem up there. Let's face it, though. Ohio State's schedule is terrible. It's so cupcake. I do expect them to get to Michigan State undefeated. That's going to be a hell of a game, especially if it's 1 versus 2. But I do expect them to get there undefeated. Their schedule is so easy. But who would have thought that, this was a make or break week? I really do believe this is a make or break week for Cardell against Western Michigan. He looked terrible last weekend, looked awful. Thankfully, JT came in and saved him. But the thing that's really upsetting me with Ohio State is, why is Ezekiel Elliott not getting the ball more? The kid is a monster. He is a built for the NFL running back. Like, it's driving me insane watching them, how they're not running the ball. It's so crazy. And then when I see him run the option, I'm like, why isn't JT Barrett in there running the option? He's a much faster quarterback than Cardell is. If you're going to throw the ball downfield, that's fine, but they don't have the Devin Smith weapon like they had last year, which benefited Cardell. He needs that deep ball. He's got an unreal arm. His arm strength has obviously been noted how good it is. His arm is incredible, but they need that deep threat. They don't have it this year. Jalen Marshall is not exactly their deep threat that they're looking for, and they need that Devin Smith like deep threat. And I think JT should be the starting quarterback still. I think eventually he will get it, but Urban Meyer's at the point now where it's like, what does he do? It's kind of it's a healthy competition, and he came out and he said that someone has to take Cardell's job, and they haven't done it yet. So you got to trust the man. He's a great coach, and it's a good problem to have. I don't think the quarterback controversy is going away anytime soon. What about you?
I don't think that, and to touch on Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, I know you got the guys that you can play at quarterback, and they're terrific. Cardell's terrific. Barrett, I'm a big fan of Barrett. I thought he should have been the starting quarterback to start the season. I understand why Cardell was the starter, because Cardell won you the national championship, but without JT, you don't get to that national championship. Exactly. But to touch about Elliott, there's no reason he should be getting less than 20 carries a game. In that opener against Virginia Tech, I think maybe 12 carries the whole game, and he only had maybe 3 or 4 at halftime. And yeah. I mean, he's a workhorse, and I think Urban came out and said it to somebody that, I don't know if he said it in so many words, but it basically to the idea that Ezekiel is going to get his stats. But it's like, why get a guy 100 yards and then just can him? Go to a different thing. I mean, I know you've got other parts of your game that you can elevate, but Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, there's only one Ezekiel Elliott in the NCAA, and he's your running back. Yeah. The guy runs downfield. I mean, you can't stop him. He'll run through you, and they need to hand the ball off more to him. And also, to agree with you with it, it's completely asinine to me that Barrett's not in on the options when they decide to go to the option. I'm not a big fan of the option. I know it's more so in college, but with Ezekiel Elliott, you bust him through the middle, and he finds the holes and he can run. They need to find the opportunities to give him the ball more early in the game, and plus you manage the clock with that.
Yeah. I completely agree. That offensive line is unreal. That is, I mean, Jay Cutler would kill for that offensive line. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that would kill for that offensive line. I think they showed last year. Ezekiel Elliott had so many holes to run through last year. You could drive a truck through them. That line is so good. There's no excuse for it. I really think he should be getting the ball more. Their game plan's been really weird lately. I don't know. His first run of the year, he took it 80-some yards to the house. I mean, he's a freak. So I really think that he should be getting the ball more. They need to utilize him, take some of the pressure off Cardell Jones. Overall, just get there. It doesn't matter how you get there. I don't care. I'm one of those old school guys. A 2-0 win, I don't care. Just get me there. It may not be pretty, but that's one thing in college football that Ohio State kind of has to do now. They have to win pretty, because if they keep having these games, they may go undefeated, but the voters will not, they won't be unanimous. They're not anymore, but they won't, be picked as the number one team. So they got to win these games. They got to kind of win them pretty. They missed the spread last week. They missed the spread the week before, but the game last week was one of those games where it was kind of a trap game, because Northern Illinois is one of those teams that is, they're a really good football program. Don't take anything away from them. They're a really good team. If you beat them, it's like, okay, well, you beat a small school. But if you lose to them, you got upset. So they were a really good team. They've been on the rise for years. Did you get disconnected, Ian?
I did.
Already, week 1, we're having video issues, but Ian's back, so we're good.
You're back on the big screen though now.
Did you hear any of that?
I did. I heard everything you had to say until like the last 5 seconds.
Okay. Well, we're past it. It was. I just think that. The quarterback controversy in Columbus is going nowhere. I don't know about you.
It's going to depend on how good Cardell plays from here on out. Like I said, JT's waiting in the wings. He can definitely get him there if he needs to, but I agree with you. I don't think the controversy's over. I think Cardell has very little room to make any error. I think Urban hinted at that in his post-game presser. I don't know. It's a great problem to have, like we said. I think they're going to be okay. And like you said, just get me there. It doesn't have to be pretty. I think if they do finish undefeated, I think they'll. I think no matter how ugly it is undefeated, I think they'll still end up in that Final Four. But you want those favorable matchups, especially in January.
Yep, absolutely. To transition from quarterback controversies, we'll talk about your Browns, E. Little quarterback controversy up there up there in Believe Land. So what do you got on that? What do you got on your Browns? I know McCown started out the season as a starter. He got destroyed going into the end zone like the Michigan Cowboy and the Water Boy, and knocked out of the game. They bring in Money Manziel, and money looked good. And what's up with Pettin, man? Not gonna roll with Johnny Manziel. What do you think about that?
It's a factory of sadness up there. I get it. I get the coaching staff going with McCown. I had to step back as a fan of the game and as a fan of the team to evaluate it. They built this team for Josh McCown. The signings they made, the veterans they brought in, they built this team for McCown. They bring in Hartline, they bring in Bo. The tight ends they brought in. They brought in three new tight ends. They got a rookie tight end in there with EJ Bibbs. I like Johnny. I want to like Johnny. I couldn't stand the kid in college. If he just got his act together, I was like, just get your act together. I'll be a fan of you. Come on. I know he probably goes to bed at night wondering if Ian's a fan of him. But
hey, in his defense, though, in Manziel's defense, he looks like he's on the straight and narrow. So,
yeah, I'll give him that. And ever since January, he came out and said it after Sunday's game. He said, I've tried my best. I was in a dark place in January. I think he has straightened stuff out. And I think, the game against the Titans, I think we saw what Johnny Manziel could be if you base your team around him.
Yeah.
And if you give him the system to play in. It's obvious that he loves going to Travis Benjamin.
Beast. He's a beast. Travis Benjamin is a beast.
If you utilize him, I don't see McCown being able to go deep to Benjamin like Manziel does. And that's not knocking McCown at all. But Manziel is going to Benjamin like they use Mike Evans at Texas A&M. If you can build your offense around Manziel, you and I talked about it. Tebow's a different quarterback, but if you could have built your team around the system that Tebow played in the NFL, Tebow would have succeeded. And I think that's what Johnny needs. Now, when they signed McCown, they realized they knew what they were getting. McCown he's a solid backup quarterback is what he is, but that's the Cleveland Browns mantra. God forbid we sign somebody that's amazing. But you get someone like Josh McCown in there, and you try to give him the weapons that he can utilize. That's why they brought in Hartline, and I like Hartline, and Dwayne Bowe, and I think Dwayne Bowe needed a change of scenery from Kansas City, and I think that if he's healthy, he can help this team out. I was really upset after Johnny went out there against the Titans, and Pettin just kind of was like, he did some things good, he did some things bad, we'll build on it. And then a couple days later, McCown's a starter Sunday. Now I think I don't want to take anything away from Manziel's start, but they never named Manziel starting quarterback until Friday of game week.
Yeah.
And with Dick LeBeau being in Tennessee, I think LeBeau had his guys ready for. I think LeBeau had that defense ready for McCown.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with everything you're saying, man. I mean, obviously I'm a Bengals fan, so I follow the Browns to an extent just to see how things are going in the division. I did, flip back and forth between the game this weekend. Manziel looked great. He could have had a couple turnovers that game. Had he had a couple turnovers, I don't think we'd be talking about the big McCown Manziel issue. I personally believe that they should start McCown. Like I said with the JT Barrett thing, I don't think an injury is cause to lose your job. But on the flip side, the Browns are one of those situations where you drafted Manziel in the first round. You took a I'm not gonna say wasted, but you took a pick with Manziel in the first. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say wasted, but you took Manziel in the first round. So you guys are at a crossroad where you have to decide: is he our guy going forward, or are we going to be on the clock in the first round again, looking for a quarterback? So I do believe you got to get him out there, you got to get him playing. But what this tells me is we're not in practice every day with him. We don't see what's going on in practice, so it believes me to think that he's not ready to start. They must see something we don't see, that he's not ready to start in the NFL. I don't know what it is. Hearing you name off your guys' skill position almost made me cringe. I feel bad for you guys. Like Hartline. I mean, you guys brought in I don't miss Baby Hawk at all. I don't miss him. I thought he played well when he was in Cincinnati, but now I hear you say all your skill positions, and I just sit and kind of smile. It makes me happy to all the weapons Andy Dalton has and still tends to mess up with. But he looks good this year. We'll get there in a minute. But I think McCown is the right answer right now. One thing that just baffled me in the offseason, why did you guys go after Fitzpatrick? I don't
know.
McCown had a stopover in it was like the lingerie football league or something.
For one, let me touch on the waste of a first-round pick with Manziel. We did not waste that pick on Manziel. That was the pick we got that we wasted on Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
And Trent Richardson turned into Johnny Manziel. Let's hope Johnny Manziel doesn't turn into Trent Richardson. We wasted our first-round pick on Justin Gilbert. So that's where that wasted pick happened. But there were other guys out there that I would have rather seen them sign. I don't know what made him go with Fitzpatrick or with McCown. I want to trust in Farmer as the GM and with Pettin as the coach. They bring it that last year they brought in Whitner and they brought in Dansby, and that really helped the D. That helped the younger guys on the D.
Well, that defense is for real.
It is
for real, man. And one thing I've told you multiple times is the Browns need to take a page from the Bengals book. The Bengals were terrible for years, as publicly documented. The Bengals were awful. Bringing in Marvin Lewis, and a lot of people don't like Marvin Lewis. But and the only knock against Marvin Lewis is he doesn't win in the playoffs. Okay, but let's talk about 10, 12, 15 years ago when we were terrible. Keeping a system in place helps teams. The Bengals keeping Marvin Lewis around helped them. They drafted well. I think Pettine's a great coach. I think you guys should keep him, keep a system in place. I mean, you guys have been a revolving door for quarterbacks, coaches, GMs, coordinators, you name it. It's everyone. You guys have went through everyone. So to keep a system in place is definitely good for you guys.
No, I totally agree. That was the biggest thing when we fired Chudzinski. I liked Chudzinski a lot a couple years ago. And the biggest problem is with that revolving door of head coaches, you don't have a system that stays in place. How are you supposed to succeed? I wrote this in the Browns recap. I want to like Josh McCown. And you know what? That week one when they were playing the Jets, and you and I discussed also, we think that Jets defense is for real.
For real. They are for real. That D-line is awesome. And Revis Island out there, I mean, he still looks good. He still looks awesome.
But if you go back to that first Browns drive where McCown is guiding them down the field, I mean, it's methodic. He's going down the field,
yep,
and he's going right through that defense. And right before the injury, I think they were on maybe like the 4-yard line. And then, I think McCown was going to run that ball in regardless. They were on the 4-yard line. They got a penalty that dropped them back to, into the 15. And, so instead of running it in from 4 yards out, he had to run it in from 15. That opens the field up so much for a defender to come in. And then, I mean, him doing his best John Elway impression, the helicopter in the end zone, up until that point, he had led a good drive that I think had the Cleveland fans excited. And building off that, and to go off what you said about the JT thing, you shouldn't lose your job, and you shouldn't lose your job, due to an injury. Manziel is the, what they call the sexy pick. He's the younger guy. He's the flashier quarterback. I do like I said, I like what McCown did on that first drive.
Yeah.
I hope McCown can continue to build on that. That Oakland defense that they're going to play this week, not great, not as nowhere near what that Jets defense was in week one. Hopefully we can hopefully that line can protect them. Hopefully he can stay out there and not get hurt. And hopefully we see a complete game from Josh McCown to where he does win that job over, and that is his job to lose. And I think Johnny handled it gracefully this week when reporters talked to him. He said he said all the right things. They asked him about it. Are you upset? Are you disappointed? He said he was obviously disappointed. But he said, whenever you guys call my number, I'm going to be ready. That's my job. And like you said, a practice thing. We're not there every day at practice. They obviously see that he's not ready. I do like Pettin a lot. I like our coordinators. I like DeFilippo is the offensive coordinator. I think he's great. I would like to see a little more variation in the playbook, but I mean, we got a whole season for that. But I think they can be good with McCown. I don't think they can be great. They're not going to be great with Manziel. But we need to keep somebody in place. We need to keep a system in place, and we need to build from that each year. And right now, I think McCown's the safe choice to go with.
I definitely agree with everything you said. I like Manziel. I kind of hope money comes back. I hope he flashes the money symbol. I hope the cockiness kind of comes back. I mean,
I think if the money symbol comes back, I think the cocaine use is going to come back too, and I don't want that.
That may still be there without the money symbol, but let's transition into the one Ohio team that actually doesn't have a quarterback controversy for once. The Cincinnati Bengals, my Cincinnati Bengals. Who Dey, Ian? Who Dey is 2-0 right now, man. They look pretty good actually. Harbaugh coming out for the Ravens saying that the Bengals are the best team in the NFL. That's such a classic Harbaugh move to try to get in our heads before Sunday. Getting Bengals heads and we go to Baltimore and put up an egg. That's such an old school Bengals move to try to get in our naive heads. But early on, the Bengals look good. Week 1, starting out on the West Coast, never had won in Oakland ever. That's a mind-boggling stat. Andy Dalton kind of come into the season with, as always, a lot of pressure on him. Andy looks good. Andy looks good early. He's definitely benefiting from some great offensive weapons. I mean, first time ever that they've had all their weapons, AJ, Sanu, Marvin Jones, Jeremy Hill, Gio, and now Tyler Eifert. They've had them all healthy. They look good. I think they're hands down. I think right now, them and the Steelers, once the Steelers get Le'Veon Bell back, they're going to be for real. That offense in Pittsburgh is for real. I know we hate to talk about any teams from Pittsburgh, but they are for real. But, I mean, the Bengals look good. I know a couple of people are hoping for a quarterback controversy. McCarron looked good in preseason. He's a good backup, but Andy's getting paid the money, and he's playing well. He's doing everything. I don't know if you've watched many of the games or watched many of the highlights, but he's doing the right things. He's throwing the ball away. He's not taking big hits. He's not taking big sacks. His O-line is phenomenal. That offensive line is incredible. Their one knock on him right now is holding on to the football. Jeremy Hill's got to learn to cover the rock, and Gio looked good. I mean, they look good, man. Hugh Jackson's throwing everything he can at teams. To go to Oakland, like I said, week 1, that's a tough game on the West Coast to get that win, and that was a great win. Then to turn around, last week and beat the Chargers, who've kind of had our number the past few years. That felt good. So we look good. We held Keenan Allen in check. He's coming off 15 catches, 165 yards, something like that. So yeah, I mean they look good. They look good on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. I think they're the best team in the AFC North. I said that going into the season. I just think they have too many weapons at the end of the day. I think if Andy Dalton plays well, they're a hard team to beat. The playoff thing, that'll come. I don't really worry about that. Like I said, I've been a Bengals fan my whole life, and I've seen the terribleness. I remember going to games, picking tickets off of people's car windshields and going into the game, and the game was half full of people. I mean, that's one thing you can say about Cleveland fans. Through the awfulness, you guys are there. Bengals fans, for some reason, Cincinnati fans, Reds, Bengals, whatever it is, we have this sense of entitlement. I hear a lot of Bengals fans knocking Andy Dalton. I jumped off the Andy Dalton bandwagon last year, but at the same time, I'm going to support him. He's my quarterback. What else can you do? So this may be contradicting myself, but whatever, I'm going to say it anyways. But a lot of Cincinnati fans feel this entitlement, and it's like, dude, we were terrible for so many years. We're getting to the playoffs. That's going to come. We're going to get a win. What happens when we get a win? Next year, we didn't get 2 wins. So it's the grind, man. Just keep building your team, and I don't think he is a superstar quarterback, but I do believe he will win games. He's got 42 wins in 5 seasons. I mean, counting the 2 wins this year, so pretty damn good. I know you guys would love that up in Cleveland, wouldn't you?
I have no idea. I've said it. I said it on Facebook and Twitter all last year. When I get Bengals fans up on my news feed talking about Andy having a bad game, I'm like, look, I'll take him up in Cleveland right now. Like you said, I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's a quarterback that can get the job done. When you look at quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl, he's definitely not Trent Dilfer, but he's not Drew Brees or Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
I think they just need confidence. I think they need that one playoff win to get them over the hump. And I think if they get that, I think they're a dangerous team in the playoffs. I think if they build that. And like you said, the weapons, Tyler Eifert is an absolute monster.
Yeah, yeah,
A
I
guy
agree.
that
I,
I
I
mean,
he
go ahead.
go ahead.
He's just, I mean, there's no words to describe him, what he does for that offense. And I mean, if he was, I know the premier tight end in the league is Gronk.
Yeah.
But if there was no Gronk, I mean, you'd be talking about Tyler Eifert more than you would Jimmy Graham.
I mean, yeah, he's a great tight end. I mean, out of Notre Dame, he was clearly a steal for us. We got him very low in the first round, so his hands and his footwork are like a wide receiver's. I don't know if you saw his touchdown this past weekend, but he completely raked that defender's hands down and just like went around him, swim moved him. His footwork in the back of the end zone was incredible. To get 2 feet down, to be 6'5" and whatever he weighs, he's a freak. He's a monster, and Andy's clearly comfortable with him. And I think that says a lot for a lot. You look at a lot of good quarterbacks in the league, and a lot of teams that are successful. They have good tight end play. That quarterback needs that release valve. They need that safety cushion in a tight end. It's going to open up AJ Green downfield. Andy loves to force the ball to AJ Green. That's a huge knock on him. AJ's numbers are down, and it's clearly because Eifert is his main target right now. He trusts Eifert. So football, it's always a game of, I mean, look at the Cowboys, man. They were a Super Bowl favorite going into the season. You lose Dez Bryant, your best player. Well, you trade DeMarco Murray, or basically DeMarco Murray's gone. They didn't trade him, but he signs with the Eagles. So you lose your running game. Okay, they weren't making a big deal out of it. We'll sign Dez long term. They sign Dez Bryant, he gets hurt. Romo goes down the week after that. So anything can happen in 1 week in the NFL. I mean, anything can happen. So as long as we stay healthy, I think we're a tough team to beat. I'm not really worried. I think the Ravens are good. I'm not going to say I'm not worried about them because it is in Baltimore. They're a great team, but they're clearly missing Suggs. Suggs is a huge part of that defense. Without him, they just don't have that attitude for me. Forsett does not look good on the ground, but I'm sure he'll have over 100 yards against the Bengals because that's how that works. I don't know. I think you guys have a good team. I think the Browns have a good team. I think it's a 2-horse race in the North right now. There's just teams in the NFL that are 0-2 right now. I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about the Seahawks. They're going to make the playoffs. I'm not worried about the Colts. They're going to make the playoffs. I'm not worried about the Ravens. I still think they're going to contend, but I don't think they're as good as a lot of people said going into the season. A lot of people said the Ravens were going to contend for a Super Bowl. I don't believe it. I think that the Bengals and Steelers are the teams in the North right now, and the Steelers are only going to get stronger. But as long as we stay healthy, the Bengals, that is, I think we'll be okay. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I think definitely. I think it's the Bengals' division to lose. I think week one the Steelers had a tough one with having to play Tom Brady in week one after he just basically made a mockery of the league with winning the legal issues. But I didn't take that, and plus they were playing without Le'Veon.
Yeah,
and then this week they played without Le'Veon and they destroyed the Niners.
Yeah.
And I think the Steelers are going to be right up there with the Bengals, but I do think the Bengals division to lose. I think they have the weapons. I think they have an over surplus of weapons. I wish they'd ship some of those weapons up north to Cleveland. And if they want to throw in A.J. McCarron, what's another quarterback? We'll take him off your hands.
Another quarterback for you guys to ruin. But I think the Steelers are good. They don't have Le'Veon Bell. He was the best running back in football last year. So that's definitely going to be a key return for them. And then also Antonio Brown is the best receiver in football, hands down. Like there is not a better receiver than that guy right now. I mean, he is worth every week. He's worth 9 to 10 catches and 100 yards always. Like he is a freak. He's unguardable for me as a receiver. So the Steelers are good, man. They're always tough. They're always going to be a tough team. There's rarely any time where they're not. So they're always the AFC North is the best division in football year in and year out. Anybody who wants to talk, I mean, could you imagine the Bengals being, or a team, the Steelers for that matter, any team? Let's talk. I mean, for the Bengals, since we're Ohio sports, the Bengals. Could you imagine them being in the AFC South? Okay,
Good Lord.
the Colts benefit from playing in the AFC South. They've not lost in 2 years to an AFC South opponent. The Texans are terrible. Outside of J.J. Watt, they're terrible. The Titans, awful. The Jaguars, awful. I mean, that's 6 wins right there. You get 9 wins, you're in the playoffs. That's rule of thumb. What about the Patriots in the AFC East? Dolphins traditionally have been terrible. Bills have been terrible. They're good this year. They're going to be good. Dolphins are good. And then you got the Jets. I mean, come on. So the AFC North, year in and year out, it's the best division in football. The Browns are always going to give everyone a tough game, and you guys are so close to being a great team. Your defense is killer, dude. I want Joe Hayden in stripes. I would kill to have Joe Hayden in stripes. He's a monster. You guys have a great defense. You guys are so close to being there. They need to beef up their offensive line big time. They need skill position players. My God, you guys need a running back more than I've ever seen. You need a running back. Quarterback, you need one, but I think you're going to get by with it. And then your receivers are terrible. Like, your receivers, outside of Benjamin's a freak. He's a monster. Your receivers are terrible, dude. Hartline is not – he's not the option there. I mean, you guys, your skill position players may be the worst in the NFL. That's all I'm saying. That group of guys may be the worst in the NFL.
I get a chance to defend myself and my team. I think as far as the running game goes, like when they played the Titans, they asked Pettin why he took the foot off the pedal in the second half, and he said, they were trying to develop a run game with a 21-point lead. I agree. Isaiah Crowell is not the answer. I love the Duke Johnson draft pick if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
I watch Duke a lot at Miami. I think he can be an NFL back with time. I think it's going to take some time. I don't think Brian Hartline or Dwayne Bowe are the answers. Benjamin is a beast. The tight ends, I mean, they're a dime a dozen if you don't have an elite one.
True.
And like you said about, all good NFL teams, the great quarterback play comes from a healthy relationship with the tight ends. We're not going to get that with Jim Dre or Rob Hausler or E.J. Bibbs. The guy's last name's Bibbs. I loved him in the preseason. He's a tough kid, but I do like Baby Hawk. I think he's somebody that could benefit when it's Manziel's turn. Yeah. I think his speed. I think him streaking down the field. I think Manziel. I think he would flourish for Manziel. I don't know what he's going to do for McCown. We do have the worst skill players in the NFL. I do admit that. I will say that.
There's no it's you guys, and then there's no close second. Like, everybody has at least one star skill player. Maybe Jacksonville, but even still, like, Funches, I think, is going to be a good player. I think he's going to be a real good player out there. You guys would kill for Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles in your system, like, you guys, Blake Bortles would be perfect in Cleveland. I think you guys make a move for Bortles. What do you think?
I don't think there is a number that has not been tainted by a quarterback that we could put on a new quarterback.
True.
That's why I hated when Manziel took number 2. It's Tim Couch's number. But at the end of the day, you can talk about quarterbacks all you want. It comes down to the system, like we talked about earlier. We got to have something in place. We got to build. That defense is great. That defense is not great if they have to play 50 minutes of a 60-minute game. Yeah. Something's got to happen on offense. They've got to manage the game better. They've got the time of possession has to get a lot better for that offense. The offensive line has gotten better. I mean, Joe Thomas he's been an All-Pro since he's been 3 years old.
Joe Thomas is the best in the business, man, for sure. That's one thing that's helped the Bengals this year. I mean, Andy Dalton has not been sacked once this year, and he was their offensive line ranked 3rd in the NFL last year in fewest sacks. So they've definitely benefited. Andy. It's helped him. He has time to throw the ball, but he's getting rid of the ball quicker. Our offensive line is opening up holes. I mean, they look great. And they got 2 great young players in the pipeline, like I wrote about earlier in the week. That offensive line is great. I do think it's Whitworth's last season in Cincinnati. I mean, you've discussed that before. I just don't think the Bengals are going to give him the money that he wants. So I think it will be his last season here. Hopefully not, because I think he's a great player. But they do, like I said, they have 2 young players in the waiting, and I think that they know that. And unless he takes a very, very, very big pay cut or league minimum for a vet, I don't think he will be in Cincinnati next year. So that may hurt, but they look good. All of them look good. Coming into the season, I questioned our center, actually, because word was coming out of camp that they would look terrible. There was no continuity between him and Dalton and Bodine and Dalton. So they look good, though. They're protecting. I think if you guys can build around Joe Thomas and just continue just to bulk up that line, I mean, anybody can throw. I mean, imagine Aaron Rodgers behind Cincinnati's line. Aaron Rodgers would throw for 6,000 or 7,000 yards in a season if he was the quarterback at Cincinnati and he had that line and those weapons. He would throw for 6,000 to 7,000 yards a season. I would bet my bank account on that. Aaron Rodgers, you'll hear announcers when he's throwing the ball and he's always on the run. Aaron Rodgers is so good on the run. Yeah, he has to be. His line is terrible. He runs on every play. He throws 60 yards across his body running out of bounds every time off his back foot. He's insane. If he had the weapons that Andy Dalton has, he would put up astronomical numbers.
No, I agree. It's one of those things. If you look back to Cleveland, they've got Thomas. They drafted Batonio. Batonio has been great since they've drafted him. They drafted a couple guys this year that I think are going to be great fillers once the older guys get out of there. But like you said, you got to build around Joe Thomas. He's not a spring chicken anymore.
Yep. And
they need to do something quick. But that Bengals offensive line has been phenomenal. And, hopefully I like Dalton. I mean, I'm not a Bengals fan. I like Dalton. I hate seeing him. I know it's a part of the game, part of being a fan. And like what you talked about, the sense of entitlement. I go through with the Reds. I'm a diehard Reds fan. Baseball is my favorite sport, is my first love. I'm all in every season. Yep. I mean, we're going 162-0, and we're going to win the World Series. And then when they drop the 5th game of the season, I want a managerial change. I want him to trade everybody. I want the owner to sell the team. I don't want him to pull an Art Modell. I never want that to happen. But
I want to bring back Marge Schott and Shotzi. So
I wish, but I don't think I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, the Reds are a whole different can of worms, and
they are. But I think that sense of entitlement in Cincinnati, like you were talking about it frustrates me watching Bengals fans do that because, like you said, the '90s, how rough the '90s were.
Yeah, it was
and it's
awesome.
like, what do they owe you? Like you act like for 25 years you've been a dynasty. You haven't. Dalton has done more in 4 years than what some elite quarterbacks in the league right now. It took them 8 seasons to do. You look at Peyton Manning's playoff record; it's atrocious.
Awful. It's awful. His playoff record is terrible.
So many first-round exits, but nobody's getting on Peyton Manning's back about that
because he's got 1 Super Bowl, and they see Peyton Manning, and he's still got that Super Bowl win, and I'm
not trying to compare Dalton to Manning. I'm simply saying the stats don't lie, and you've got guys that are elite that, 40 games in 4 years. 40 games in 4 years, he won in his first 4 seasons. I don't care if that's phenomenal. Yep. Nobody, show me another quarterback that's done that.
He's an elite company. I think there's only been like 3 or 4 quarterbacks that have ever done that. So,
yeah, I mean, he'll figure it out. This team is built this team is built with all those weapons that, like I originally said, I think once they get that off their back and they get a playoff win, I think they're going to be dangerous. And I think the Bengals fans need to. I know it's tough because it's your team and you're good. I know it's tough when Andy makes a mistake because it's an untimely mistake most of the time. But you got to stick with him. He's done the last 4 years. He's gotten you to the playoffs all those years. It's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner than later.
I would 100% agree with that, Ian. I think you hit the nail on the head. But what's going to happen sooner or later is Hugh Jackson will be a head coach again somewhere. I think he deserves it. Paul Gunther has benefited from a great Mike Zimmer defense. But Paul Gunther is dialing up blitzes this year. They went out and got Michael Johnson to help with their pass rush. So I think they're he's doing the things right this year that he didn't do last year. He was really submissive on defense last year. He's blitzing more. He's doing that more of a Mike Zimmer type defense, but he has benefited from a great Zimmer defense. Hugh Jackson will be I almost said Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackson will be he'll be a head coach in the NFL again. I think Oakland fired him after 1 year. He went 8-8. I mean, the team he had at Oakland was terrible. Wasn't Terrell Pryor his quarterback out there? They were not good. He's a great offensive coordinator. You can tell. I mean, Andy's his guy. He's backed him from the get-go. He gets Andy comfortable early. He does a lot of short passes to get him going. He's a smart offense coordinator. He should have ran Jeremy Hill in the playoffs last year, but that's a whole different story. But he is a good coach. He will be a head coach again in the NFL. So the Bengals is kind of that revolving door in the NFL at coach. You know, that's like the Seahawks right now. They're kind of in that system where they had a great defense. Opening job comes up. Obviously, someone wants that defensive coordinator. He's gone. So they're that revolving door at coach. That's how the NFL is set up for you to succeed and then have to rebuild. So I think you're right with the Bengals playoff win. It will come sooner rather than later. But at the same time, let's do it while Hugh Jackson is here. And I'm excited. I think they got a good team. I think you guys got a good team too. I think it's just you guys are so close. It's like the Browns get there, they get to the finish line, and then take 2 steps back. I don't know why, but I think you guys will be fine. You got to get this win this week. Can't go 0-3. Speaking of picks and going 0-3. Ian, what were our picks from us? So for those of you who don't know or don't follow our page, let me just preface this. We do picks each week where we submit our picks. Whoever out of me, Chris, and Ian, whoever finishes with the most wins that week, they win the week. And then by the end of the NFL season, whoever has the most wins, most weekly wins, gets the pride, I guess. Loser. This is a game that me and Ian threw out. I think it's pretty cool. Loser has to take a picture in their rival team's jersey and make it their social media pictures. So if I were to lose, I have to wear a Browns jersey, courtesy of Ian, because I'm not going to buy one of those. But courtesy of Ian, I have to wear a Browns jersey, take a picture, keep it as my profile picture for whatever amount of time. What do you want to say? What amount of time?
Well, let's go a week.
A week. Okay, I can take that. So for a week, the loser has to wear their rival's jersey. So I did not help my cause to this last week. Ian, what were our picks last week?
Last week in week 2, Chris, he won our week. He went 9-7. I finished up 8-8 last week, and Jared, you fell behind 7-9.
Okay, I did win week 1 though, did I not?
You and I tied for week 1, so okay. All 3 of us have a win technically.
Okay, so we all have a win. I'm fine. I'm not wearing a Browns jersey. I'm pretty confident. So
Joe Thomas Reebok is waiting for you.
Oh God, no. I can't do that. I can't do it. So I got to get my mind right. I gotta get my picks in. I took some chances last week. I took the Seahawks. In my mind, I was like, no way, they're going 0-2. I should have known better. Don't go against Aaron Rodgers because he's the man, especially in Lambeau. But I did take some chances, and sadly, those chances backfired on me. But let's get into our picks for this week. Like we said, Chris is not here tonight. He's having internet issues. So I will read Chris's picks off. Chris's picks are as followed. He is taking the Falcons over the Cowboys. Who you got in that one, E?
Falcons over the Cowboys. I agree with Chris. I don't think I think the Cowboys are depleted right now. Really wanted to see them have to play with Brandon Weeden, but since they traded for Castle earlier in the week, their starting guy, it might be Weeden, but I think the Falcons went on the road in Dallas.
I 100% agree. That Falcons offense is so good. Matt Ryan finally has weapons around him. Julio Jones is a freak. He's a monster. So I think they have a great team. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC by far. And I think that Cowboys team is – I don't know, man. I don't think without their two stars, I think they're kind of in trouble. If they can, like we were talking, if they can get to the point where Romo comes back and they're a game above 500, I think they would take that right now. I think if you could ask them, hey, would you sign up for that right now? They absolutely would. So I agree. I will take the Falcons in that one. Colts versus the Titans. Colts have not lost a game to divisional opponents in 2 years. Ian, who you got in that one? Chris has the Colts, by the way.
They've got to win. They can't drop to 0-3. LeBeau's gotten the Titans defense to play well the first 2 weeks. Like we talked about the Browns game last week, I think LeBeau was playing him more for McCown. I think Pettin and the Browns took him by surprise starting Manziel. But I don't know. I don't see the Colts starting off 0-3, even though they're playing this game on the road. They got to give Luck time. Luck's getting hit hard. You invested in a franchise quarterback and you let one walk away when you got this guy in the draft. So I think I'm going Indy on the road. I think Indy will win at Tennessee. I think it's going to be a close one, though. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
I agree. I take the Colts. I took Andrew Luck with in my fantasy draft, so he's my quarterback, and I really need him to have a good week. I'm not worried about the Colts one bit. I still think Luck is going to be a Hall of Famer. I still think the funny thing with the Colts is their first-round pick was a wide receiver. They clearly needed offensive linemen. Then they go out and they got older. They brought in Frank Gore and Andre Johnson, which is two weird moves. They don't have a line. Luck is still a great player. He does have the most turnovers that I've ever seen. He have 28 turnovers in his time in the NFL in the past 2 seasons or whatever. Not good. So I do think they bounce back. I don't see them going 0-3. I think the Colts are still one of the best teams in the AFC. I take the Colts on the road over the Titans. Mariota. So we Raiders versus your Browns. Chris took the Raiders. He went against your Brownies. He took the Raiders. So who you got? I think I know who you got in this one, but who you got?
I'm going Browns. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to get a 2-1. I think McCown's going to be all right against that Oakland defense. That the key to this game is the offense needs to stay on the field a long time. Not super long, but I mean it needs to be an even. It needs to be a 32 and a 28 as far as the minutes go on time of possession. They can't let Derek Carr get started. Especially with the way Amari Cooper's been playing. He's been great so far in his rookie season.
Joe Hayden is going to be all over Amari Cooper. You know that. He
is. That's what I'm saying. But I think if that offense can't get anything generated, and that the Browns defense has to play the game for 45 when we get in trouble. But I like the Browns in this one. I think we're going to manage the game well. I think we're going to stop Carr. I think the run defense is going to be able to contain Murray. I like the Browns this week at home.
I've drank the Browns Kool-Aid, man. I'm also going with the Browns in Cleveland. It's a tough place to play, regardless of what the record is. I mean, it's always a sellout crowd. It's always loud. I will take the Browns. I think the key in this game is, can the Browns offense hold on to the ball and not turn it over and give up a cheap touchdown or cheap points to Oakland off of turnovers? Who I think the Browns, they take care of the ball. I think they win. I don't think the Raiders are that good. Their defense is subpar. If they can control, which you guys have a great defense. If you guys control Carr, I think, like I said, Joe Hayden will be all over Amari Cooper. So I'm not worried. I think the Browns win it. I don't see you guys starting 0-3. I think if McCown has a couple bad drives, you're going to start hearing some boo birds, and you're going to start hearing you're going to see some money signs in the stands. And
right now we're 1-1. We can't go to 0-3.
Oh yeah, you guys won. Did you guys win already? I thought you guys were 0-2.
Titans. Money Manziel.
Oh yeah, sorry. What the hell am I thinking? I'm so sorry. Browns fans, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I zoned out there. I think you guys win this week, so I'm on your side. I'm sorry. I zoned out. Sorry. For correcting me, Ian. But I think the Browns. I'm taking the Browns this week, so I'm sorry to Browns fans out there. I'm just so used to saying Browns 0-3. Anyways, on to the next one. We got Bengals, my Bengals against the Ravens in Baltimore. Chris, that bastard who is a Bengals fan, took the Ravens in Baltimore. Who you got this week? Bengals or Ravens?
Ravens at 0-2 are a deceiving 0-2 team. It's always a shootout when they play in Baltimore early in the season. I like the Bengals. Hands down, I think the Bengals win. I don't think they're going to have an issue with Baltimore. That defense is depleted without Suggs, like you mentioned earlier. I don't see the Bengals having any issues.
Oh God, this is a trap game for me. I think the Bengals win this week. I'm going to take the Bengals every week. I don't care if they're playing the 85 Bears. I will take the Bengals. I got to stick by my team every week. I think like we just said, I think they're the best team in the AFC North. Like you said, I agree with you that it's their division to lose. Harbaugh saying the Bengals are the best team in the NFL is such a mind tease. So I'm taking the Bengals. End of story. I don't want to talk about this one. We've kind of touched on it a lot. So I'm taking the Bengals over the Ravens. Jacksonville versus the Patriots. Now the Jaguars are a team that all three of us have kind of like have a small love affair with. We tend to pick them, and we kind of we drink the Kool-Aid with the Jaguars. But who you got this week? Jacksonville or the Patriots? Chris has the Pats.
Pats. I think it's going to be a bloodbath.
I take the Pats too. I think they win by 30 or more. I think Gronk has 3 touchdowns again. I don't think Tom Brady plays the fourth quarter. I think he gets pulled, and I think we see Garoppolo time, baby. But I take the Pats too. Foxborough, it's a fortress, so I'll take the Pats. Jacksonville may not hear any signals or any play calls through their headsets that week. So Saints versus Panthers. The Saints are a team that I think everyone's kind of trying to hold on to, the team that won the Super Bowl. They're not. They're terrible. I think they're the second worst team in the NFL, personally, the Bears being the worst. But Saints versus Panthers, Chris has the Panthers. Who you got, man?
I think the Panthers are going to continue it. Their undefeated start. I think they're going to be 3-0. Never would have saw this coming with Kelvin Benjamin going down in the preseason. Cam's taking advantage using all his skill positions. Greg Olson's had a revitalizing 2 games to start his season. If Greg Olson goes down, that's going to be another story. But I like the Panthers to start 3-0. I think they beat the Saints no problem.
I agree. I think the Saints are terrible. Drew Brees isn't playing this week, so they've already came out and said he will not play. He's got a bruised rotator cuff, I do believe. Same shoulder he had surgery with. Brees is kind of reminding me of Chad Pennington now. He's kind of getting those shoulder issues where kind of ran Pennington out of the league a little bit. But, I think the Saints team's terrible. We talk about when they play in the Dome, how tough it is when they've lost their last 8 games there, I do believe. So I'm going Panthers. Kuechly's out this week, which sucks, him being a Cincinnati boy. But I think the Panthers – I think they win pretty easily, actually. Eagles versus the Jets. The Eagles are in a kind of a crossroads here. Chip Kelly, his system it doesn't seem to be working. DeMarco Murray's got 2 yards rushing this year, so that's awful. They look great in preseason. They look terrible right now. So the Eagles kind of need a win here. They're on the road against the Jets. We talked about it. That defensive line, that defense is stout. The Jets defense is what Rex Ryan had wanted there when he was there all those years. It's finally there, and he's gone. Who you got in this one? Eagles versus Jets. Chris has the Jets.
Jets, 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 Jets.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I want to take the Eagles so bad. I don't know, man. I like the Jets. I like the Jets at home. Fireman Eddie's back, so I got to go Jets. I got to take the Jets on this one. Buccaneers versus the Texans. Texans are a team that if they get pieces back, they're going to be tough. Jameis Winston looked good last week. Chris has the Bucs beating the Texans on the road. Who you got, man?
I think this game's just going to be a brutal one to watch. I'd hate to live in that market. I think the Texans get the first win, and it's going to be at home, and I think they'll do enough. I think Jameis is going to try and run, and I think JJ's finally going to have a big game. The key to that for them to win is they got to be consistent on offense. They need to go with the quarterback like Cleveland. I think they're going to go with Mallet this week again, but also, that run defense is what's so great in Houston. They've shown that they're terrible with their pass defense. So Buccaneers, they use the legs of Doug Martin, they use the legs of Jameis Winston. If Lovie Smith doesn't change up the game plan, then I think it's going to be a long day. I like the Texans in this one.
You like the Texans? I have to agree with you. I think the Texans at home. I can't go against the home team. I think J.J. Watt is if you could build a team around anyone, I think it's J.J. Watt. He just does so much to disrupt quarterbacks. He's such a good player. He does what tight ends do on offense too, if you want to play him on the offensive side of the ball. So I like the Texans in this one. That's a trap game, man. It's like that. I would not bet on that game for nothing. I wouldn't touch that game. Like you said, I would not want to be in that market. Both teams are not good. Buccaneers got an all right defense. They got the weapons on offense. If Winston can kind of settle in a little bit, they got some good pieces there. They got good wide receivers. But I just think the Texans at home, I got to go with them, right? You got to take the home team in this one. I mean, I'm going to go Texans, I guess. So we're kind of par for the course here.
Chris might have a big week.
We might have to switch things up here. All right. Chargers on the road taking on the Vikings in Minnesota. Chris has the Vikings in this one. E, who you got?
I'm going with Zimmer and the Vikings. They're my NFC dark horse this year. I like what Zimmer's got going. I think Teddy Bridgewater is extremely underrated. I think AP is going to be AP. But I like them. I think that's going to be I think it's going to be a pretty good game. But I don't like the Chargers' chances. I'm going with Zimmer and the Vikings.
Once again, I agree. At the beginning of the year, I said Zimmer's going to win Coach of the Year. I thought AP was going to compete for the rushing title, and I like Teddy Bridgewater. I'm on the Teddy Bridgewater train, man. I think he's a good quarterback. Put pieces around him, give him a line, let him go to work. I think he's good. I think he's a good quarterback. Chargers 2 East Coast games in a row. It's kind of rough, man. A lot of traveling for them. I hate Phillip Rivers' bolo tie. I hate it more than anything. So I don't think the Chargers defense is that good. I like the Vikings in this one, man. It's a tough place to play. So I love Zim. I think Zim's the man. So I go Vikings in this one. Steelers taking on the Rams in St. Louis. Who do you got, man?
That's a tough one. The Rams knocking off the Seahawks in St. Louis in Week 1. That I took the Seahawks in that game, and I was like, well, I'm not going to underestimate the Rams ever again. And then I forget who the Rams played last week, but they got their butts handed to them.
Yeah.
So they're back in St. Louis this week, and I like the Steelers. I like the Steelers to win in St. Louis. It's a tough place to win, but I'm going Pittsburgh. I hate going Pittsburgh. I don't like Pittsburgh. I don't like anything about Pittsburgh, but I think the Steelers are tough. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
I agree. Yet again, Steelers, they got a great offense, man, and they get Le'Veon Bell back this week.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. That yet again, Rams got a good defense. Fisher's, great coach. Nick Foles, good quarterback. I think Chip should have hung on to him. Steelers are too good on offense. I got to go Steelers, man. I don't think there's anyone on the field that can cover Antonio Brown. and then you add Le'Veon Bell in, it's a wrap. I think it's a wrap. I think the Steelers take this one. 49ers versus the Cardinals. The Niners have not looked good. I know you kind of pull for the Cardinals as well in the NFC, man. So Niners versus the Cardinals. Who you got? It's in Arizona.
No,
Chris.
It is in Arizona.
I don't think I said last game. Chris took the Steelers the last game. So
All right.
there's that one. And this game, Chris has the Cardinals. So who you got? 49ers, Cardinals.
I'm going with Arizona. Like you did mention, Arizona is my NFC team. Big Larry Fitzgerald fan. That's another reason I hate the Steelers was the Super Bowl that year. But Carson Palmer, you and I discussed this at length. I fully believe that last year, up until Palmer got hurt, Cardinals were the best team in the NFL. They were 8-1, and then the wheels fell off the bus. Palmer's been playing great. He's got some weapons. He's got John Brown up there. He's got Michael Floyd. He's got Fitzgerald, who had a resurrection last week. Running game still kind of iffy. They got CJ2K. But, yeah, I don't think the 49ers know what their identity is yet. And, I like the Cardinals, and I think it's going to be a romp.
I agree. I don't think the 49ers are good at all. I think week 1 was a fluke. I love Carlos Hyde, obviously being a Buckeye. I love him. I don't think Kaepernick is a good NFL quarterback. I take the Cardinals in this one as well. I still like Carson Palmer. I loved him as a Bengal. I thought he was a great quarterback. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks, and he's an important quarterback. I saw a stat today, I do believe, the Cardinals in their last 18 games are 15-3 with Palmer. When he doesn't play, they're in trouble. He's a good quarterback. He's got weapons around him. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. I think they're one of the best. They're top 3 teams in the NFC. I think that the Colts really missed out letting Arians go. I think Pagano was the guy they had to go with there in that situation. Sadly, the whole cancer thing and him beating it and whatnot, it was a success story. But I think if things had played out differently, I think they should have kept Arians. I think he's the better coach. He did wonders with that team when he was there. Pagano was out, so I like the Cardinals in this one as well, man. I think they're a great team. Bills versus the Dolphins. Chris took the Bills in this one. Who you got, man?
We talked about this at the beginning of the season. There's a lot of people drinking that Dolphins water this year. There is a simulation model at Harvard that picks the AFC and NFC champion each year, and for the last, I think the stat showed for the last 9 seasons, they correctly predicted the Super Bowl in each of those seasons, and this year they picked the Dolphins, which I don't know how in the hell that happened, but that started making me drink the juice just to try and make some money betting wise, but I don't know, man. Tyrod Taylor. Who would ever thought we were going to talk about him being an NFL quarterback? He's been impressive with Buffalo and with Rex Ryan. So, I mean, I'm not a huge Rex Ryan fan. I am going to take the Bills on the road in Miami.
I gotta get some distance between you two. We're kind of me and you have picked every pick, so it comes to me. I think the Bills are the better team. Their defense is great. Tyrod Taylor is a beast. I like him. I think he's a great quarterback. They got the weapons on offense. They look terrible against the Pats, so they kind of got smacked in the mouth and brought back down to earth there. But who doesn't look bad against the Patriots in that division? I mean, they pretty much everyone is kind of their whipping post there. Dolphins. I don't like the money they gave Tannehill. I've made this public. If people want to talk about Andy Dalton being average, we're Bears versus all right. Bears versus the Seahawks. Bears are the worst team in the NFL. I've said that. I believe it. Chris took the Seahawks. I mean, do you want to waste some time on this one? Who you got on this one?
Seahawks.
I agree. I got Seahawks as well. No way they go 0-3. If the Bears beat the Seahawks, things are bad in Seattle. Things are real bad in Seattle. I think it's going to be Monday morning will be a whole big what's going on in Seattle. I think the 12-man or whatever those fans up there call themselves, I think it's going to be a lot of people calling for some jobs to be taken care of. But I think their offensive coordinator is terrible in Seattle. His play calling is awful. It's awful. But the Bears are terrible. They're really bad. Is Jimmy Clausen starting? Cam Chancellor's back. Let's touch on that a little bit. Cam Chancellor's back. That Cam Chancellor did okay. So what's going to drive me nuts about Cam Chancellor is he held out and he wanted all that money. He lost $2.1 million by holding out. So he comes back and he says that he can forgive them. Jesus forgive people. Why can't he? So whatever that means.
His contract didn't even change, did it?
No, it didn't change. He just lost money for it. So Cam Chancellor loses money, comes back, and to benefit, what a genius by coming back to play the Bears at home, and you get the benefit by going against Jimmy Clausen. He's going to have he'll probably have a couple tackles. He may have a tip ball, and people are going to be like, "Uh-oh, Seattle, they're back. They got Cam Chancellor back." No, it's not because of Cam Chancellor. A safety does not depict the outcome of the game. I'm sorry, they don't. Safety is there as the last line of defense. I think he's a good player. He's the leader on that defense, but whatever. I'm taking Seattle. Let's just move on.
Hold on 1 second. I would like to thank the Bears because no Cutler, no Jeffrey. I got the Seahawks D in fantasy. That's going to score me some points this week.
Exactly. Yeah, Seahawks take that one easy. Broncos versus the Lions. Broncos don't look good. Manning, they kind of escaped by on 2 games. I think they look suspect on both those games. Broncos on the road taking on the Lions. Chris took the Lions in this one. Who you got?
That was a toss-up for me. Detroit's a tough place to go, especially if you're a West Coast team. Stafford's saying he feels better. A healthy Stafford, and you got Megatron. I mean, and that rookie running back, I forget his name. It's like 14 syllables, but he's doing well. It's going to be a toss-up. If Peyton doesn't get this thing figured out, was it really, I think John Fox is laughing somewhere. I think this is a real tell-all week for the Broncos. But saying all that, I did take the Broncos on the road.
I agree with you 100% there. I'm taking the Broncos. I think the Lions are so overrated. I think Matt Stafford's the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. I don't like him at home. I don't like him. I think Peyton and the Broncos still find a way to grind one out. I think it'll be like a 19-16 kind of game or something like that, but I think they grind one out again. Lastly, the last game we got is the Chiefs on the road taking on the red-hot Packers in Lambeau. Who you got?
Tough to go against the Packers at Lambeau. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Andy Reid and the Chiefs are a good team. I don't know how they're a good team with Alex Smith quarterback. I mean, I'd take Alex Smith in Cleveland, but that's besides the point. I'd take 14 quarterbacks in Cleveland. But you can't go against the Packers at Lambeau. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a good one, but in the end, I think the home team gets it. I think the Packers win. I think they go to 3-0.
I agree. I think the Packers are going to go 14-2, 13-3 kind of season. They're very good. Rodgers makes that team unbelievable. Doesn't matter who he's throwing to. Alex Smith has still not thrown a touchdown pass to a wide receiver. That streak is still going on. Lambeau's always tough to play. I don't know if Eddie Lacy's playing this week. I know he kind of tweaked his ankle, but I still like the Packers. I think they're a great team. Did we pick for pick? Are me and you identical?
I think we are, Jared.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change a pick. I don't want to be identical. I'm going to take the Dolphins over the Bills. I'm going to you took the Bills in that one, right?
Yes, I did.
I'm gonna take the Dolphins at home. That's my one pick. I'm gonna try to win the week. So I don't want to go pick for pick. So I'm changing my pick to the Dolphins. I do think the Bills win that game, but I don't want to go pick for pick. I think that's kind of
Bengals jersey.
What's that?
I said you want
I got
jersey.
I got weeks to make it up. So I think going pick for pick's kind of lame. Let's kind of switch it up. But yeah, man, that's our picks for this week. That's our first podcast. We're finally done. It feels like it's been forever. Next week, hopefully Chris will join us. But thank you to everyone who continues to read our stuff. Check this out. Check out our website, ohsportsradio.com. Ian, you got anything else?
Guys, give us some topics. Comment on our Facebook. We'd love to see some comments on our website. Like Jared mentioned, ohsportsradio.com. Comment on the stuff. We love talking to you. We love interacting with you. We've interacted with some people on Facebook. Leave us questions. Give us talking points. Let's build this thing up to something big. We're in the beginning stages. And, I have fun talking about sports. I think just about everybody has fun talking about sports if you follow sports. So we like interacting with you guys. Keep it coming. Any questions, talking points you guys got, throw it at us. We'll talk about it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Like us on Facebook. We have our Facebook page. Website is ohsportsradio.com. Follow us on Twitter. It's Ohio Sports Radio. So check us out. We're on there all the time. We'd love to talk to you guys. Thank you to everyone who continues to support us. If you have any questions, comments, get them in early for next week. We'll touch them in the podcast. And thank you to everyone. This has been awesome. Ian, thank you to you, sir. It's been fun. Now let's. I got a little NBA 2K to play. Just pick that up early. So ready to do that. And thanks, man. Hopefully the Bengals get a win. Hopefully your Browns get a win this week. But who day, Ian? Who day?
We'll see.
All right. Thanks, everybody.